if you are looking at ways to improve your productivity or the productivity of your teams, or find a way to really be able to take all of the information that you're receiving and make it into action. Today, we're going to talk about going through this book actually, step by step, and comment if you'd like a copy of this book. But step by step, we're going to go through and walk you through kind of the basics and how to operationalize a task management for your organization. So stay tuned. We're going to jump right to it. So the first thing to recognize here is, are we digging the hole with a spoon, which is email, or a backhoe, which is task management? And what we're going to talk about today is there is a difference, and it's not that tough to bridge that gap. So let's go ahead and jump into how we can do that with the introduction. We need to get in our lives beyond email. Email is a demoralizing activity that it's a bottomless pit, and it does not allow for us to accurately assess what needs to be done, prioritize, and then plan out what we're going to do in execution. Email is a reactionary technology. I get the email, I respond to it, and then I forget about it. And unfortunately, in today's environment where we're receiving information from multiple areas of our lives, illustrated here on the screen, how do we accurately capture what is intended for information and what is intended for us to execute, those tasks that we need to do? And unfortunately, because of the many, many areas that we receive information in our lives, it becomes overwhelming and sometimes difficult to handle. So task management really can help us with that type of problem in our lives. And really, it comes down to a simple statement: more than two, add to do. And what that means is, if it's more than 2 minutes, add it as a to-do item. So more than two, add to do. We're going to talk about how to do that. So the first step is we need to learn about some of the planner basics. And we're going to walk through kind of the basic introduction and even show you some examples here of what that looks like. To open up Planner, it's pretty simple. We're going to open up that waffle within our environment, and we're going to click on Planner. And to do that, let's go ahead and just pull over a screen here so you can see how that, and we'll pop this screen in and out so you can see how to do that in your environment. But right here, click on this, and then you go right here to Planner. So that's how you do it. Pretty simple. Now, what is the difference between a plan, what's planner, a plan, or a bucket? And let's see here what that looks like. A planner, what they call planner, I wish I wouldn't have named them the same, but this application here is called Planner. That's Planner, Microsoft Planner. When I click on Microsoft Planner, the application, now I'm introduced to my Planner Hub, which are my plans. And you can see I have multiple plans within my environment. When I click on one of those, now I am within that plan. And within every plan are buckets. Some of my favorites are to do, task out, execute, and follow up. Within each bucket, I'm going to have a task or multiple tasks. And within those tasks, I can go ahead and assign a due date, priority, and things of that nature. We're going to come to that in a minute. But the key thing to remember here is this is a plan, this is a task, this is a bucket. And I create all of those. Now, why create these buckets? I think we're going to talk about that next here, but let's keep going with this. This is the plan. Oh, there we go. Create a bucket. So what does it mean to create these buckets? I have these primary buckets here. Let me minimize that just a little bit. I have these buckets here. To do, this is where I capture everything that needs to be done. I haven't yet processed it. So that means I haven't assigned it a due date, assigned it an individual, maybe myself or somebody else. I haven't delegated it, and I haven't prioritized it. Task out means I know that it needs to be tasked out. So I'm going to send it to somebody else. I'm going to copy it or move it to somebody else. Execute means that I'm ready. Let's go. Let's take care of business. Execute. And then follow up, which we'll go into later in the video, is I'm actually following up on the video. So that's pretty easy. Create the buckets. Now, tasks themselves. So we just create a task, and we're going to talk a lot about this consistency, comments, start dates, things like that. So let's jump right into it and what a task title is. So a task title, let's go ahead and do a task title here. So information found within the task title becomes searchable. So we're going to talk about this thing over here called filters, but it becomes searchable. So you want to put some information in there that's easily identifiable and searchable. So here, this is the name of the task. AO is the action officer, so that's me in this case. LOE is how much time, level of effort. You can see all these things explained down here. And then this is a unique identifier. We're going to talk about that in more detail, but this is very important when we're trying to find things. So that's really it from a title perspective. You want to create a consistent title, whatever that looks like for your environment. Also remember, when you're looking at titles, it's the title that we see here when we look at calendar and different views. We're going to see the title of those tasks. So you want to make sure that you put the information into the title so that you can see it easy in the different views that you have within Planner. In this case, we always put the task name first. This information probably won't appear in a brief view of that task. All right, assigning a user. Assigning a user is a very simple step. This is how you do it. You search for the user's name here. So if I was to search here for Lush, I'm going to find my wife, for example. I could click on her name and assign her and add her to this group. Now, this is an important piece that we talk about here on this screen behind us. We'll go to it in just a minute, but this is what we call a non-member. So when we add a non-member to the plan, in this case, Maria, that means that she will, because she hasn't been in there before, she'll have access to all of my tasks and all of the information files that are associated with this plan. So be careful when you're adding non-members to your plan. So we need to assign a user, and then we talk here about non-members. Labels. So what are labels within the tasks? Labels are pretty easy. We can go here, for example, click on a label, and we have different types of labels. We can give each one of those labels a different name. I use labels. Doesn't look like I use them that much in this plan, but in other plans I do use them, and you can make them anything that you want. They become a groupable item. So for example here, notice how we can group by bucket. We can also group by label. So something that you might want to consider here, and I give some explanations. And again, if you want to read this, just pause the video and read the data. Tasks and buckets. So let's go ahead and look at where we place tasks within buckets and what progress means. So here, when we have tasks, we can move these tasks and drag and drop them within our buckets. That's pretty easy. Or we can click down here and move them to different buckets within a plan. We're going to talk about moving tasks in a moment, but here we're just really talking about moving information from one bucket to another. Now, the progress here is in progress or completed. And when you complete, basically you click this to complete a task, and then it appears here as completed. So I rarely use completed, I just use in progress on occasion. All right, start dates and stop dates. So let's talk first about start dates. Start dates are wonderful, but they can create congestion. Here we're talking about start dates and due dates right here. So let's look at the examples here. Here, this first box that we're viewing, this has no start dates, so no start dates. The second box here we're viewing has start dates. So do you see there's a little congestion? Do you see under there where there's 1, 2, 4 more? So it's very difficult to read our tasks. So by default, I place start dates within the notes section. So I don't use start dates myself. I just stick them right in here. It's right here, task initiated, right there, and I put that data there. Due dates. So due dates are just due dates, right, when the task is due. And you can see here in this example, when I click on a day, I can see multiple things that are due. I can also go to my calendar view and I can drag these tasks to different areas and it will automatically adjust those due dates. And I can also see unassigned tasks. They're over on the right, and I can drag those tasks into a date as well and be able to have those due dates reflected. Priorities. So I use priorities pretty much like you see here on the screen. You can pause this video. So essentially a medium priority is the default, and I usually assign a 2-week due date associated with that, but people can adjust them and it's encouraged. Low means a future task. Important means that the task needs to be addressed within 72 hours, and urgent means that it should be addressed immediately. A checklist is an item that we want to have completed that's related to the task. So you can pause and read that little blurb on checklists. The one thing to remember about checklists, they should not be subtasks. If you're putting a checklist item in there that really needs to be assigned to an individual or have its own unique due date, then it's not a checklist, it's a task. And we'll talk about how to link tasks here in just a minute. Notes. So this notes section provide a consistent format. Now you see here within the notes, you see, and I'm going to blow up the screen here, you'll see here that there's a consistent flow that I happen to use. Yes, that's a lot of information, and I use automation to populate that and see other videos on that. But here within the notes section, it's important to be consistent so that when every single one of my notes comes up, I have the same information all of the time. It makes it very easy to find things and to share tasks with others because there's a baseline of expectation. Here within comments, when we add comments, now remember comments within the task itself are right down here. Here's some checklist items, by the way, and you can check those off. Here are comments. Now these comments can be received, as you see here. You can add new comments and just click send. You can also see there, image number 17, that comment gets added as an email message. So when you add a comment, you have notifications. You can actually receive those comments via email and respond via email. So you never have to open up Planner. And then you can see there, image number 18 is a response to an email message that automatically populates the comments associated with that task. The benefit here within comments is that you can keep all of your information in one place. There's no more looking around for everything. You can see it all in one place. Attachments. You can absolutely add attachments to any task. You can do that just by clicking here and following along. It's very, very easy to do. So to add an attachment, you can do a file, link, or SharePoint. Excuse me. Pause the video, read the data on the screen. It's pretty self-explanatory and easy to use. Discover, prioritize, and execute. That is the mantra, or what I call DPE. Discover what needs to be done, prioritize when it's going to get done, and then get it done through execution. So how do we use Planner in day-to-day operations? Well, one of the first things you need to realize is that we can use a search or filter to find tasks within our environment. Using a search feature is very nice, and let me show you here. It doesn't say search within Planner, so you need to be careful. It's right here under filter. We're going to enter in that keyword, and then we can make adjustments, like only show me things for today, for example, or next week, or what have you, right? So that's kind of where the filters is. Now pause the video and you can read this data here about searching for a task. The key takeaway here is, remember we talked about the unique identifier. The unique identifier right here on the screen, it's critical. Computers love to search for numbers. And so if you give it a unique identifier, you can easily find your tasks. And we talk a little bit here within how to refine that search using filters, as we've seen. Copy, move, link, and delete. There are 4 actions that are associated with every task. And let's go ahead and look at the task, and we'll come back to the instructions. When you look at the task here, you can click here and see those 4 options. By the way, not mentioned in the manual, you can see them here as well. Here, they have different actions, and the key takeaway here is you can copy a task within one plan or multiple plans. So if I'm going to copy a task, for example, I want to copy this task, I can copy it, click on this plan, and go down and copy it to another plan. But if I want to move this task, and click on move, notice here that I can only move it to a bucket. I cannot move it across to another plan. So that's a key takeaway there. And then when I copy a link to a task, whoops, hate when that happens. When I copy a link to a task, what I'm doing is literally copying the link so that I can click on that link and actually go to the task. So that's how that works. And then of course delete is delete. My tasks. My tasks is your workspace. So it's my workspace too. So my tasks represents everything that has been assigned to me. Notice here we have a label, by the way, Evernote. So here, group by progress, I can group by plan and see all the tasks that are assigned to me. I can filter and say only tell me the tasks that are assigned to me for today. I can say only tell me the due dates that are today, and I want to maybe group by priority. So I can do all types of things here within my tasks and see everything that I need to do quickly and easily. And you can see that. Pause again if you have any questions on that. But you have those different views. You can play with them. It becomes very, very powerful. Do realize though that my tasks, this view in my tasks, this right here, group by, looks different in my tasks than it does in my personal. So in my personal one, I have a few more options. I can see who things are assigned to, for example. In my tasks, I can't. So just realize that. Plan members and notifications. So you can pause the video and read what I have here on the screen, but it might be easier for me just to show you real quick. Here, within, I can't see the members here because I'm in my task. I have to go to my personal. So here I can click down and see any member. So let's pick one where I have another member. If I click down, I can see my brother there as a member. All right, so that's kind of members. To look at the notifications, you click on the 3 dots here, click on plan settings, go to notifications, and then here you can adjust those notifications. So that's pretty simple. And the last thing are follow-up tasks. So follow-up tasks are very, very important. I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say, for example, that I have here, I'm just using personal as my example. Let's go back to the follow-up. Let's say that I create a task for somebody else, and let's just say that somebody else I'm assigning it to this plan called personal. Notice here I have follow-up on this task. Notice here it has a number. So I'm just going to go in there and copy that number. And it says here that I need to follow up on this task, gives me a date to follow up and what plan it's in. Tells me it's in personal. Now, why would I do this? Because I can assign this to myself. Perhaps I assigned this task. Let's go see if we can find it. We're just going to search on it. There it is right there. We've assigned this task to somebody else, and they have different due dates associated with this task that may not be our due dates. We may have assigned this task to them and said, hey, can you get this done? And then we're thinking in the back of our head, well, we're going to give them a month to do it. So we're going to assign our follow-up for 30 days from now. But the individual executing the tasks, they may be assigning other people, adjusting the due date as they work through the task. We just want to, from a follow-up perspective, look and see what the progress is, right? We can read the comments, we can read the notes, we can see the attachments. It's a very effective way to follow up on tasks when you make assignments to other people. What you don't want to do, which is a common mistake, you don't want to assign 10 people to here. So let's say, and use this as a CC line within an email message. That's a no-go. When you do that, it becomes very, very difficult for you to understand in your My Task area what actually needs to be done by you or what's being done by other people. Then you really go back to that discussion between discovery and execution. We want to keep discovery outside of our task manager. When we get in task management, we want to quickly go to our tasks and just knock it out. Literally get to work. And that's the way that this all works together. Follow-up tasks, and then of course, the end of the paper, there's an index. So that is a quick and fast view of how to really get started with Microsoft Planner. Some of those gotchas along the way, and some of those reasons, right, that we need to kind of discover and execute so that we can become more productive. And remember, more than two add to do.